to Prague and St. Anne and Mary. We forgot those. And we may have made a few other mistakes, but remember, some of us aren't the smartest people in the world, like Dr. Browning. So anyway, I'd like to introduce a great doctor. He was a doctor of the 3rd Marine Division, which makes him close to me since I was in the 2nd Marine Division. And they took care of us. The Marines didn't have doctors or corpsmen. They all came from the Navy, enlisted men and officers. So here is Dr. Browning.
Thank you, Paul. My wife's over there. She should be here. Oh, there she is. She showed up. This morning, we were working on this to make sure it was okay, and we got here about 1:45. There weren't any cars, just a few. And so she said, "You didn't get the right date." I said, "I've got the right date." She says, "You don't have the right date." So then we called Paul, and he didn't answer his phone, so we went back home. And so then I saw a phone call from Paul at 3:44 or something today. He tried to call me, then I called him back, he didn't answer, so I called Tammy Minnie, and she did answer her phone. A woman that answers her phone is good. My wife doesn't always answer hers. I don't know why I got her one, but I did get her one. So I had Alzheimer's for about 3 hours. Now I don't. So I'm cured of Alzheimer's because I had it for 3 hours, and now my wife says I don't. So that was because we came at the wrong time. But anyway, what the heck am I doing here today? What my father did was genealogy and local history for 55 years of his life. We helped him create the internet. It's got all our work on it from Vandenberg County. So the last decade we've been working on all the other counties, and we've done a lot on Gibson County. We've probably got 40 to 50 years of Gibson County. A lot of southwestern Indiana, a lot of southeastern Illinois, and a lot of northern Kentucky. And we'll show you how to get on it. So we got some younger people in there. They will show us how to get on it if you don't catch it. I've got some handouts, but I will show you how you search every grave in the back here. I will show you how you search everybody that has been deceased that hits the Clarion. That's the Gibson paper. And there's 2 other papers in Gibson County. We've got all those indexed. We've got all of them indexed in Knox County for about 40 years. And we're trying to index obituaries and also the history of people in southwestern Indiana. So the other thing we're trying to do is go to these small local churches that may not be here in 50 years, may not be here in 40 years, and trying to trap the history. Now you've had a couple historians here, and where I've got some of this information is from Mrs. Overt Marlene, when you did your 1977 100th anniversary, and there's been updates to that, and I've looked, it's 250 pages long, and has a lot of your pictures of all of you here. And also there's a book by Bernie Lutz and somebody else, I think it was Marlene, in 1977. So those are wealth of information. So I would tell you that you should continue to do something like that. Marlene did a tremendous job, so did Bernie, and there were a lot of edits to that. So it tells you a lot about your own history. And I'm actually very impressed with your own history, and I've been studying for a while, and you ought to be proud of it, and I'd be very proud of what you've done here. And I'm going to go over a little of the history from 1875, and I'll push us up to about now, and then I'm going to show you what we do that can help you study your own history. So this is a picture of one of your August 20th reunions. This is supposed to be August 20th. That's St. Bernard's feast day, but I guess we got it a week early this year. Raise in the back row if you can't hear me. My wife gets mad when I don't talk loud enough. So you do like this, and I will make sure I go up. This is a very pretty picture. It didn't look like the weather was the best, but you got a double rainbow there. As often, I don't know what year that was, but it was one of your picnics, usually August 20th. This is August 13th. This is a picture of the city here, just from a map, and there's another church that way, named, it was a Lutheran church. It's about a mile and a half down the road, and they helped build your church back in 1877. They built theirs first, they built the other one here second. This is just a blow-up view. And why I'm doing that is because you see Hopstad over there and Fort Branch, but Hopstad is where Mr. Anton and Magdalena Obert first settled back about 1873 to 1875. This is an aerial view of what we're looking at right now. If you look at that, you see the church, that's where the red dot is. And Magdalena, who was the driving force more than Anton, and I know in your families, it's probably not the men that are the driving force, it's the women, and that has not changed, but in that family, Anton was pushed by Magdalena to make this church, from what I can tell by the books. But there's the church, and they gave you about 5 acres at that time. That was a lot to be given. And you see the church, and then you see the cemetery, and that first church was 1877 and 1872, or 1892, and that got blown down either by a tornado or winds, and it was on top of the cemetery. So where you see a cemetery up there, you can see it up there behind me. Well, you can't see much because of the light. I'm sorry. I can't do much about those windows, but apologize. But you see a red dot anyway, and the white. Apologize. Some of these others will hopefully be better than that. You can see a little bit. That's the sign out at Snake Run. That's the church again. And in front of the church is your probably where you ate today. That used to be your school. The school was opened in 1899 and stayed open till about 1929. The Great Recession seemed to get it. This is one of these. Who's a creator of this? Paul, you told me 4 times, but several men helped build this garden on the side of the church here. Very beautiful. It's a rosary garden built in 2015, but very nice. That's the picture of the church. That church was built in 1892, because your other one, that's what we're sitting in right now. The previous one was over on top of the cemetery, and it burnt down, or it blew down. Right over here, this burned about 1974, the same year you put your rectory up. But this half part burned about $37,000 worth of damage. A little bit of damage to the altar. And then these pews, I don't know how you guys did, but they pulled the pews out. I don't know how I could get those pews undone, but the pews, a lot of them were pulled outside during the fire. So I think some backs were broken at that time. Well, there's a very pretty picture of the church. Now, these are some of your beginning people, and there are some people that those are your ancestors. I couldn't put all the list of everybody, but some of these are charter members. That's 1875 or 1877. And you see those names, and a lot of them will be back behind us in the cemetery. These are the 2 people that I think helped start this, to help this happen. Mrs. Obert came over from Germany, and most of us came over either up the river or over the mountains, and she came over the mountains, New York City, Pittsburgh, then over here, and she landed over in Hopstad area, and then at St. James, and then her husband there is Anton. He came through New York, or no, he came through New Orleans, then ended up in Kentucky, worked on the Green River, made some money on the Green River, and then had enough money to buy some acreage. And I think if you guys could find some farmland for $2.50, I think you would buy it now. I don't think there's any for sale for that, but he cleared the acreage. 7 of their 12 kids survived, and some of them, our ancestors are in the room, I'm sure. But at that time, coming over from Germany, she wanted to recreate her own home like home was back there. And a village church was the center of the community, and the word is Lebensraum, and that's what she created. And I think after I reviewed all this history that she did that job, made a church in the middle of your nice community, and your communities thrived for many, many years, and you ought to be proud of it. But Hopstad was too expensive for them. Acreage, he bought 40 acres for $10 an acre back in 1875 or so. Then he found some acreage right here. He didn't buy here. He bought over on the southwest. I can't show the map anymore, but it's over there. That's the south. That'd be the southeast corner, and he got up to 1,400 acres over there, 1,200 acres over there. Then house was over there, and they gave this land to the church to make a church. And you couldn't And that's what and if they wouldn't have done that, wouldn't have had the church. So for a couple of years, they had church in their house. Then they had church in the older building that was back here that blew down from 1877 to 1892. Then this building's been here since 1892. The school that you just probably ate your lunch in over here was made in 1899. And lay people were the teachers there till 1917. Then the spiritual people, I think Franciscan, I've got it here somewhere, Franciscan nuns, I'm not sure on that. They helped teach from 1970 to 1929. Then the Great Recession happened and no more school. But the schoolhouse is still there. This is just talking about the acreage. I told you about the acreage. The church, the original church cost $544. And somebody's a mathematician, that money today would be a lot more, but I don't know. The original church they thought might be named St. Anthony's and Obertsville, and it ended up being St. Bernard. And St. Bernard's up over here. He's over there on the right, up on the top. That's St. Bernard. All right. All right, thank you. St. Bernard's over. Who's that guy? Okay, St. Anthony. They were going to name the church St. Anthony, but that's St. Bernard. But St. Bernard, I'm sure you've heard the history from some of the priests here, but St. Bernard, actually a very impressive person. They called him, he was born in 1090 and he lived to 1153, and he was called the doctor of the church during that century. He was good friends of Pope Innocent, and the church was in a little bit of a schism at that time. The church didn't recognize one pope, they recognized another pope, and so it was split. And so in France and England and Germany, they recognized Pope Innocent. And there was another pope that they didn't recognize, that they recognized in Italy and over in Greece. And he was right in the middle of that schism. He was a very young priest, and he became the abbot of a monastery early in life. He was a Caesarean monk, first Caesarean monk ever canonized. But he was a tremendous thinker. He liked poetry. His mother died at age 18. Then he had 7 brothers and sisters. He recruited all the brothers into the monastery and his father. So he must have been a talker and a convincer to make that happen. And then his sister became a nun. But then 1130 to 1138, St. St. Bernard. That was the time where they had 2 popes, and finally one of the popes, supposed popes died, so no more problem. But then the Second Crusade happened in 1145, and he helped recruit people for the Second Crusade. He was a very good recruiter, but then because we didn't do too well in recruiting, or in the Crusade, they were a little mean to him afterwards from 1848 to, or 1148 to 1153 when he died. Because they blamed a little bit of the deaths on him, and he said it was the sins of the Crusaders, not his sin. But this is a picture of Anton and Magdalena. Can't see it very well. This is a better picture of them, a little bit better. And she's the prime mover. A woman was the prime mover here to make this happen, what's happened here for the last 130 years. These are some other people. This is Bernard Dieters, and some people say his first name Bernard, you know, St. Bernard or St. Bernard. We think that name might have come from him. There's a person there named Schmitz, and then I've got another one named Brahm and Olbert. Joseph Olbert was there, I think their oldest boy, and he taught in the school for many years, up to 1917, and then he had a store here, a general store. These are some of your parishioners, and they were reenacting back in 1977, so you see pictures of them here. This first one here is Sister Ida Otto, and you have Father Bauer, who was here for a while. He's dressed like a priest would be at the turn of the century. And then you have a couple workers here, Mr. and Mrs. Jerry Brown, and they're dressed like he would be at that time. More pictures. This is one of your books. Now you can't see this. Just it doesn't show because of lighting, but a couple nuns here, and people dressed up like the early 1900s. So this original church was destroyed, and then their second church, this should be, I guess, 40 feet by 92 feet, and the tower out there 95 feet, 250 souls, about 48 families, and looking through your books, you got up to maybe close to 100 plus families. And then I don't know what the total number is now. The church down the road is St. Paul's Lutheran, and they helped, you built their church first, and came out and built this second. That's 1892. That's what your church looked like at that time. You've had some modifications since then. These are some of the contents of your church. Your organ, I think that one's new since 1960 or so, but your first organ they put on horse and buggy, brought over from St. Wendell in 1893. 1899, you built a school. Lay teachers, like I said, it was Sisters of St. Francis. I'm sorry, they're the nuns that were here. And then 1929, the big recession. The altar back here, that's your original altar. You can't see it now, but it's all wood, and this Landsberg and Mackey company built the altar. And then 2 bells were given. One's a 600-pound, one's a 1,200-pound bell, given by the Obert and Hassel families. Statue of St. Mary is over here. Am I right on that, Paul? That's St. Mary. Okay, that Statue of Mary, 1915, was put up there. Statue of Joseph, 1919. And then all these windows, when I could find your windows were bought from St. Mary's in Evansville. My wife and I were married there. Our 2 kids were baptized there. I haven't measured the windows to see if that's correct, but that's where your windows came from, about 1941. And I think it's St. Mary's Catholic Church. They were bought for $50 each, and they were installed for $100 each. A company from Christie helped install them. And then, about 1943, this parking lot, they're half an acre, about 0.43 acres, is given by the Obert family to park your cars. And I think they said you couldn't use any hitching posts or have any horses over there. Then you had an oil well here, and I don't see the oil well back there, but you had it for 20 years. Bishop Gribblesman didn't think you were going to get any oil out of that oil well, but you did. That's a total amount of money you made. I think you were you owned the land, and he said he wanted you to use the land the right way. If you had to use it for parish purposes, you shouldn't use it for an oil well, but you had that for 20 years. And then Hyatt Piano, you got a new piano, but new organ back there. My dad bought an organ. It's a Hyatt company. The building's still there. It's in Evansville. It's at North Main and Lloyd. It's a green building. And they sold a lot of good organs, and you bought your new organ there, about 60. Old rectory was demolished about the year you had that fire, and the old rectory was only there close to 100 years, and the new one was made for $37,000. Your fire over here, this part of the building, and lucky you saved this building, was in 1974. This is a picture of your altar. Can't see it very well. You can see it better than on the picture, but the altar's of wood. And then this is a statue of Mary's altar, 1915, Joseph, 1919. And because you can't see, I might as well get through these. These are the little places in the back. This is St. Bernard, and I already went over the history of St. Bernard confessional. So that place, you probably won't be able to get in there. I'll be in there too much, so you'll be second after me. Father Brian will be busy if I'm back there. These are some of the modern things you've done, some new windows there, new doors, and fixed up the other area. Now, this is in some of your books, can't see it, but that's the fire. Picture of the fire, picture of the men carrying these benches out, or pews out, and refixing the altar because it got burned. A picture of you can't see, that's your schoolhouse. It's just not showing up. You had a shelter house back over here, some people were in. You made that in 1950. Redid it in 72. The lady named Van Ness, can't see her, but she was your housekeeper here for about 20 years. And there's a house now you can't see, but that's the old rectory, only there for about 90 years or so. Then you built a new rectory. These are just pictures of the construction of the new rectory. A lot of people worked on that. A picture of the oil well, which you can't see down there, but it was, I guess, on the back 40 here. And then this is a sideway picture. You can't see it either, but that was 1923, where you had a picnic just like this. It's been a yearly picnic, usually August 20th, the Feast of St. Bernard. And there's the Rosary Garden, pretty Rosary Garden. Can't see that either, okay. I'm sorry about the visual. And this is the cemetery, and this is a plot for the cemetery of $7. And these are all the priests. The priests are written over there. And so the other thing I wanted to show you is how to search some of your relatives. Even though I talked about buildings, I couldn't talk about all the people here. So many people did so many things. If I started with one, I couldn't finish. It was just too much going on. Good priests, good nuns, good people here, good teachers. What I'm going to show you is an internet site, and I'll show you just 3 different ways of how to search it. And it will help you find anybody in the cemetery, find the original obituary, and we're probably 90% there of everything Gibson County, Vanderbilt County, if they're from another county. It tells about the person. The people that I'd like to show you is just so you can see the visual on them. Let's see, the people I'm going to show you are the following. We put them up. Some of these people you would know, but Frank Adler, Roland Adler, Esther Bankford, a guy named Robert Hunt, James Kissel, Gerald Lutz, Elizabeth Obert, Marlene Obert, then Roberta Silva. But I just want to show you a few of them and just show you how to search things. And then if you get lost, just ask a kid and they'll tell you. Okay, now I have to put this down for 1 second. Just give me a second. I got to get this, and I hope everything shows up here. Okay, now, what I just did was I typed up, and I've got handouts here, so forget what, you don't have to write down what I say, but it says browninggenealogy.org. My dad started this in 1954, and it looks like I got 3 sisters myself. We're trying to keep it going. But these are all the different sites that you can find. If you can't read that, can you read that in the back or not? It's too dark. Too dark? All right. Well, if it's too dark, then that's just a map of the county of southern Indiana. Let me give you a handout, and then you'll pass it out, and then I'll go over just how you search one person. Then the handout will have everything too.
Can we take it?
Yeah, you can pass them. Just. My wife's a teacher, so she'll get it handed out to you. There's 2 handouts. One of all the videos we do, Paul and Jeannie, we did a video of this whole place about a month ago. We got copies of that if you would so desire. It's not the best in the world, but it gives the history of the church. And then I'll have this one up, so it says some of the history, even though the visual isn't the best. This tells you how to get on the internet site, tell you all the different historical videos we do to try to trap the history of Evansville and the surrounding areas. But what I'm going to go to first is, this is called Cemetery Database. And if you see there's a cemetery database, and I'm going to go down to the bottom of it here. And this has your whole cemetery, photographs of it. We have a girl named Kira. Now, I'm going up here to search it, and I want to do Gibson County. If you don't do Gibson County, I'll search all the other cemeteries we do, which we do about 5 of the cemeteries, so it'll be a bigger search. So I do just Gibson, or you'll be finding too many out. So let's go to Obert, O-B-E-R-T. I just put Obert in there. I won't put in first names, and then it searches. And so if you look up there, we've got, it says Snake, all the cemetery there. You can't read it, but I'll read it to you. It says Obert, Marlene, 2013, Snake Run. Antone, that's one of your founders, 1899, Snake Run. Then go down further, the very last one's Jerome, Snake Run, 2379. But what we did is the girl went and took a photograph. Let's go to Marlene's first. And just to show you there, and that's her tombstone. But then, so you have to double click on her tombstone and it'll blow it up and show it in prettier color. Now you can't see because of our lighting, but it says, I think it has Marlene over it, it has her birth date and death date. And on the back side it says, I think the work never ends. And I think that's a good description. She had a lot of jobs and she did them awful well. Then this is our own internet site. You can't read that, but it gives you all her relatives down below, and it gives you what she did during her life. It gives her mother and father and things like that. It tells you what cemetery she was in, and all those things. So that is every tombstone back here in the back of your church, and we will try to keep that up over time. We're trying to do that in all little Catholic cemeteries and other cemeteries around. Now, that was an obit that we did ourselves, but we've got that we just we didn't do it ourselves, we just pulled it out of the newspaper. But there's another site here. I'm going to go to Southern Indiana and Southern Illinois genealogy. And this will go, there's only two things you need to know, is your cemetery, but then if you can't find the description of them, such as an obituary is tells you about a person's life. So what I'm doing is I just did two searches. I just went to Southern Indiana, Illinois. It's on your paper. And then I got to get the right county. Otherwise, you'll be seeing too many people there. So I get to the county and I search Gibson County because we've got about 15 counties we're doing. Then I'll just put the word Obert there again, O-B-E-R-T. Now, because I'm just in Gibson County, it shouldn't be too big a search. And then search, let's see, no records found. I spelled her wrong. Well, you spell it wrong, you don't get anything. Okay, so if I spelled O-R-B-E-R-T-T, it didn't like that. So you got to spell it right. Now, I still spelled it wrong. O-B-E-R-T. The spell check keeps getting me, putting it back to it. It's O-B-E-R-T, right? Right, okay. So if you spell it wrong, you're not going to get anything. Come on here. Now search it. Now, it comes up with all kinds of searches here. Let's see if we can get this bigger here. Yeah. Okay, now, if I read those, which you can't see from the back, it all of a sudden pulled up a ton of things. And when I'll read some of them to you, it'll say, now these are the obits out of the Clarion, and there's a paper, the Hazleton paper, and then there's a paper over in Oakland City. So we're trapping. We go to the newspaper, we've got the rights to that. We took a long time to get the rights, and then what we do is we scan. We got to go for microfilm a lot of times, so you lose some resolution, especially on pictures. But I'll just say a few names here. Irene Roberts. Okay, I searched over, so it has Roberts. So now I got Roberts in there because it was a general search, so it couldn't distinguish between Roberts and Oberts. But then down lower, it has the word. If you go down lower, I got some Oberts in there, but I got a lot of Roberts. So if I knew her first name, then it wouldn't have somebody to search. So I'll put, what's her name? Marley, yeah. M-A, so I'll just put M-A. We got some kids in here, so they'll tell you how to do it, get lost. Okay, now, I got Marie over. Now, you can't see that because here's Marlene, 11/9/13. So it's got date, and look at that picture. You can't see it, but it's a beautiful picture of her. And then when you go down to the obit's about 2 pages long of everything she did. But we have it for her. We have it for Roberta Silva. I think Roberta Silva. But we're trying. That's more important than having the stone. The most important thing is what a person did in their life. You know, when these kids look 50, 70 years from now, they want to know what you did. And so some of the things is you need to write it down or type it. And then most people don't do what I say. So there's new recorders. They can show you how to record on your phone. It'll automatically type it up. So you just record your life. You start chronologically, work through and put it on a little DVD. These kids will show you how to do it. And all of a sudden it's there. It's trapped. What's between your 2 ears is so important. Okay? You might not think it's important, but it's important for other generations to know who you were and what you were. And that's really what our job is we're just trying to trap some of that information, historical information. So this is all available to you, and so I just want you to be able to search 2 places. If you just search your cemetery, you're not going to find everything. And you might want to find a Protestant. Like I looked up, now Ron Miley is down the road here. He's Protestant, so you can look up the word Miley. You can't find him in the cemetery, his brother, but you can find him on the Clarion obits, and so he's in there because we're doing all the Clarion, okay? So it's a way to find things if you're interested. Now, the only thing I can say, the advantage of this is you got things in your garage and you got things in your attic. And can you find those? No. I know it's there. I know it's there. But you can't find it. You can find it here. We can find this stuff. So it's all my dad taught me is everything was in alphabetical order. Everything is in perfect order. And we as kids would run away from it because he'd make us alphabetize all the time. He had these 3x5 cards and all we did was alphabetize. And so my sisters ran faster than I did. They would just get away from all that work. But it's orderly. So if you just think of your garage and think of your attic, you can't find a thing. Well, maybe you can. You're better than I am. But this is all it does. And you can find things like that. and get these kids here to show you how. If you can't, they'll find it quickly. And this is what we're trying to do for all the little churches around the community. You're one of our first ones that we're doing, but we're trying to track every bit of this information. And if you wouldn't have Father Bernie and you wouldn't have had Mrs. Olbert, you wouldn't have a lot of this tracked. And I found you're lucky if 1 out of 8 to 1 out of 10 people track their own family genealogy or your own information. But you need to get somebody in your family to do that, just for your ancestors. You don't know who's interested, but we're into big genetics right now. But genetics have to marry the phenotypic expression. The phenotypic expression is what you did during your life. And those are important combinations. Okay, thanks for taking this time. I know this is boring compared to going over there. So any questions, I'll be glad to talk to you afterwards. Sorry the visual wasn't the best, but this is a nice place to have it anyway. Thank you.